Welcome to Lift Your Legacy. My name is Jacob Rupp, father, husband, and rabbi. And each week we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you unlock your inner potential and create change that will impact the future. Thank you for listening, and let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing you could do to make more money, to put your business out in front of more people, and to derive more satisfaction from your work is to listen to this podcast. So I'm thrilled to have Liz H. Kelly, author of 8 Second PR, who teaches tactics and techniques to get your message out there. A couple of the tactics would be try to captivate people in the first 8 seconds and use the rule of 3, where you space out 3 different reasons why a person should listen to your podcast or, to listen to the interview. Liz and I touch on a very wide variety of topics, which are both tactical in terms of how do I practically get my message out there, in addition to lifestyle related. How did she go from her job working at MySpace, managing multi-million-dollar campaigns, to running her own business and the roundabout entrepreneurial journey it took, to writing her newest book, combining and extrapolating the 15 years of experience she's had on all sides of the camera. She's an interviewer, she's been an interviewee, she's been a PR agent. So you really get the full gamut of the experience today on the interview. So again, the book's title is 8 Second PR. Our guest is Liz H. Kelly. And with no further ado, I am inviting you to enjoy and to learn with me. Okay, I have Liz H. Kelly here, who is a PR expert and the author of 8 Second PR. And correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing this for 15 years, correct?
Yes, I actually wrote a book, a dating book, and I got 500 media interviews. So then I said, okay, I have to do this for other people. So it was 5 years promoting the dating book and 10 years promoting other people.
So that's an interesting question that is like a focus thing. So initially you saw it. What was the name of your book, the dating book?
The dating book was called Smart Manhunting.
Smart Manhunting. Okay, great. So you saw the power of, it's not enough just to put the content out there, but you have to be able to get that content magnified in front of the right people. Otherwise, you're writing in a tunnel and there's no value that comes out of what you did, essentially, correct?
Exactly. And what I say is that PR is a marathon, not a sprint. And I think a lot of people, they think, okay, I have a new book, let's just promote it for 3 months and then we're done. And that doesn't work. And that's how I got a 5-year marketing campaign out of one dating book, because I released it 3 different times. And then every time I released it, I would update it with new content that I knew the media would like. And then I could go out to the media and say, here's what's new. Or, is constantly tying it to current events, which is something I talk about in 8 Second PR. And, I was like, obviously I have a knack for this and I don't need to be on TV. So let's get other people on TV.
So that's fascinating. You find one of the things that I found challenging is if you're the one that likes putting out the content, sometimes, it's hard to promote other people's messages, but you, having kind of looked within, saw that for you, it didn't really matter about who was putting out the content, but the skill set of being able to market other people was what really appealed to you.
Right. And actually the subtitle of the book is all about Energize Your Story for ultimate media success. And the reason why that's so important is because it's all about the story. And that's what I love doing. And I think that everybody
What do you mean it's all about the story? Sorry to interrupt. What do you mean it's all about the story?
Okay. So what I mean is, you can't just pitch the media and say, hey, I wrote this cool new book. You got to do a story about my cool new book. You have to present a story about how you can help other people and how it ties into current events happening today. So for example, 8 Second PR, the reason why I wanted to launch in January is because January is more about New Year's resolutions and it's a time for change. And it's, you want to push your business forward, where if I launched it over the holidays, it could have gotten lost because everybody's drinking eggnog and they're at their parties and they don't care about pushing their business forward as much as they do in January. So that's kind of the story. So what I say is that everybody has a genius, but sometimes they can't see the story that needs to be sent to the media because the media thinks different than I want to talk about my cool new company.
So let's go into that a little bit. And one of the things that is very contrarian, I guess you can say, to how I think a lot of people are presenting PR as it's supposed to be done nowadays is because there's such an immediate reaction on social media. It's like, content gets old very quickly, and it can't be like, I recorded this video on YouTube 6 months ago, how about you check it out again, because it's not going to get picked up. So do you think that there is a fundamental shift that is happening, or is social media and the media is the media, and you have to know how to navigate both?
Well, I think you have to navigate both, and I think that there are different things for each one. So there is a chapter in the book that's all about your digital marketing and how you do that. So I'm really into that, and the title I just want to say is 8-second PR, because the average attention span of an adult is 8 seconds. So absolutely, that applies more to the digital media, but it's also like the first 10 to 15 seconds of a video. That is when somebody decides if they're going to turn off the video or keep watching. So all of that plays a role.
So that's interesting. So if we could do a little bit of role playing, so to speak, if I would ask you, like, what's your 8-second pitch? What would it be?
This book is going to help you build raving fans, increase your income, and change lives.
Sold.
Something I talk about when you're on TV, I talk about the power of threes. So we talked about building raving fans, increasing income, and changing lives. So obviously the media wants to help people build raving fans, but they don't care about increasing your income. The readers care about increasing income. But the changing lives, that's what the media really cares about. They want to know, how is your cool business or cool book changing lives?
As someone that's a veteran to this industry, and do you see yourself as a member of the media? Is PR part of that, or is PR the bridge between the content provider and the media?
I think PR is a bridge. I think that's a really good word between. It's the media, the content providers, and helping to build that story. But actually, what I do is I say that I have a 360 view, because I'm actually an author, a publicist, and a reporter, because I've been an entertainment reporter for the past 10 years also. And so I've stood on red carpets and I've interviewed celebrities, and you get some good interviews and you get some bad ones, and you can tell the difference.
What is the difference?
Well, I think it's the same thing in any interview or any conversation really at a party. If you go to a party and you say, what do you do? And somebody just starts rambling versus giving you specific, helpful content. Because what I like to do when I'm on the red carpet is I like to say, for example, if it's about a movie, I like to say, so why did you create this movie? And if they go back to, I was born in, 1985, and then I moved from this city to that city, and the story takes half an hour to tell me, that's going to put anybody to sleep.
As an interviewer, do you find that that's also a skill set that has to be cultivated, in terms of trying to bring your guests back to the punch, or is that kind of on the guest?
Well, I think you can coach them as much as you want. And I do this with people I interview, but I also do it with, I run goodypr.com. And these were Goody PR clients that I was working with. But I think you can coach them as much as you want. But the bottom line, I do always tell them, I want you to sound yourself, and I want you to be excited, because the body language and the enthusiasm and the tone of voice and what you wear, all of that stuff plays a role too. And we talk about it in the book. But, so there's a lot to it, but I watch pundits on cable news all the time. And the ones who are really good are the ones who say the top 3 things are, or number one and number two is, those are the people that get your attention. Otherwise, it just sounds like a monotone voice going on.
So knowing the psychological components is very important. And the way that you package something with numbers is how you get people to kind of clue in and understand and walk away with something, I guess, that impacted them. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and what I call it actually is use emphasis statements. And the emphasis statement is what can get their attention in 8 seconds. So for example, if I say the most important thing is, I can say that in 8 seconds. I can't say what the most important thing is in 8 seconds, wow. But I can grab your attention by saying the most important thing is, or the top 3 things are. That will get their attention immediately.
Does this work in writing also? I'm curious.
I think it works in writing. I think it's really important on video, social media, and TV and radio. I think when you're doing content that's written, what I really like to do is bullets. So in this book, you'll see I've got a lot of like boxes and bullets.
I see.
Because here's some more bullets. Because people want to read in 1, 2, 3. They don't want to read a really long story that has no focus.
So give me some more just practical tips from your experience. Let's say, use me. I do interviews. I interview successful people. I also have a coaching practice. I like to help people develop more spiritual lives and get more confidence, etc. Now, there are a lot of people in this space, and I sort of know I'm unique on the inside, but like everybody's doing it. So you look at a case like me, what do you say? What are the questions I should be asking myself, and what should I be putting first?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think if I was coaching you, I would interview you, and I would keep digging on your background and what have been the life changers to help build your brand. But I think off the top of my head, I think one of the things that you could do is ask people, and this is what I ask in the book, is like, what are 3 life changers that happen in your life that cause you to do what you're doing? And what would you do for free? That's another thing we talk about, because actually for the first year, I did my PR work for free for the first year. And what happened was, I had done this, what I would call PR marathon for my dating book, with the 500 interviews, TV, radio, and print over 5 years, right? So now I get laid off from MySpace. I had worked at MySpace. And I had said, if I get laid off, I want to start my own PR company. But the only problem was I'd never worked with any PR client. That's not what I was doing at MySpace. I was running these multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns for people like Toyota and University of Phoenix.
Wow.
So now I have no experience with clients. I've done it for me, but none for the client. So I went to a Rich Dad conference. Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I met people who were running the Rich Dad Hawaii franchise. They don't have it anymore, just to be clear, but they were running it. So they said, well, we'll work with you and we can be like your test client. So I went to Hawaii. That was painful. And I did a PR campaign, and I got them on all these TV shows about this cash flow game that they were playing. Right. And so the people at the Rich Dad headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona started to say, well, who is this girl and what is going on? So then I got hired to work on another campaign for Robert Kiyosaki's wife, Kim, who wrote Rich Woman. And then I worked on that, and then I got my expenses paid. So, okay, I've graduated because now my expenses.
So first you're not going out of pocket to do it. Then you're breaking even.
Now breaking even. Right. And then I got my first client, who's been my longest client for the past 10 years, who was on the committee for that. So by working for free for a year, I got a client for 10 years.
So that's beautiful. I have a follow-up question to that, and I want to circle back to the original thrust. The follow-up question would be, what advice would you give yourself, or at what point in your life do you have to be? I think that the idea of the side hustle is very popular now. The idea of the entrepreneur is very popular now. When a person, that reality being what it is, that most people don't hire you to do a job that you have no experience, no success in, and pay you for it, unless you're very lucky, right? So what life circumstances would you recommend need to be in place before a person starts to really push their side hustle? Either maybe family or financial or whatever that might be.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. I mean, I could have never worked for a year for free if I had not had savings in the bank. So you got to have at least a year of savings, because you also have to invest. I mean, when I was promoting my dating book and learning how to do this, I estimate I spent $100,000 in my time and in going to seminars. So I went to Mark Victor Hansen's book marketing seminar, who did Chicken Soup for the Soul. I've worked with 2 different mentors. I worked with the Tony Robbins mentor. I mean, and then I hired 2 publicists for $20,000. And I learned a lot by hiring those publicists. And I placed ads in magazines. So it was a major investment to do this. It's, you know, the spiritual part and the reward of, you know, I actually get a kick out of making other people look good. So that is so powerful to me that it was worth it.
That's beautiful. Okay, now let's cycle back. So you had suggested, you know, what would you do for free? So is that part of the story, or is that in general one of those good life advice pieces for someone that's trying to figure out, like, what do I actually do?
Well, I think it is part of the story, because a big thing that I emphasize is you want to be changing lives, and you want to be talking about how you're changing lives. And so a lot of times when you're doing charity work or you're giving back, you're doing it for free. So I do think that's really important. And then your passion, you know, if you're doing it for free, you have to be crazy and passionate about what you're doing. Right. So that's going to show too.
So one of the questions that oftentimes comes up in my line of work, or for me personally, is that when you are in the helping space or the expert space, and I think that, you know, obviously the name, why would anybody interview someone that is not an expert in whatever area that they're in, right? Is when you think through these 3 events that you had brought up about your life, very often those are very difficult events that we never wanted for us to happen. You know what I'm saying? If you think like the really maybe it was like a great mentor, maybe, you know, you hit the lottery, but in most cases, at least certainly for me, 2 of the, one was positive. It was like kind of, I grew spiritually, and I became a rabbi and all that kind of stuff. But 2 was negative, is that my dad left when I was young, and that I was very overweight. And so to what extent do you package your failures and the process of trying to tell people, and by the way, trust me, because when you have that problem is your background. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think the failures are really important, because you want to be humble. You want to be able to show a comeback story, or that I learned from this. So, I mean, definitely it was not fun to work for free for a year. And people say, how did you do that? But, you know, the comeback story has been that now I've got this book, and now I've got a track record, and I have a portfolio, and I've been making a difference. And so,
and you enjoy what you do.
Yeah, also. And I really enjoy what I do. And some of the corporate jobs I had, you know, some of them were great, and some of them were really painful and really boring. And this is not boring.
Right. So now when you're looking at a client, and I assume at this point, you are analyzing, you know, what is going to be the best bang for my buck? Meaning, you know, I don't want to work for you. Even if the client came to you with lots and lots of money, if you don't feel a certain alignment with them, where you're like, I really don't know how I'm going to get you the right kind of PR. What are you going to look at, besides obviously being able to compensate you appropriately? What makes the perfect client, where a PR person like yourself says, this person has a story that can sell, I want to jump on it and I want to market it?
Now, that is a great question. And I think there's a couple of key things. I mean, number one, we only take on clients that are making a positive difference in the world. And if they don't have a charity, we'll help them and we'll work with them, because you can't just pick a charity. You have to pick a charity that has a meaning.
Right.
And then number 2, we look for
why a charity? Like, so you're saying, like, if a doctor comes to you and he doesn't have a charity, you would say we need to figure out a charity before we start promoting you?
Absolutely. I did that with because I insist that I want my clients to be giving back and making a difference, because if they're changing lives, they're actually a lot more likely to get interviews, and then, you know, they'll feel good and they'll be making a difference. So for example, I'll give you a quick example. I worked with a tech company called Jukin Media in LA, and they're now one of the top LA tech companies. And first of all, it was very hard to figure out their story, because they take video clips and then they resell them to major TV shows like Comedy Central and the Today Show, and they're blooper clips. But, you know, they had a really hard time explaining their story to me. So we worked on that. And then we worked on the charity. And what we did was we came up with the Rob Dyrdek Foundation, because Rob Dyrdek runs this TV show called MTV Ridiculousness, I believe it's called. And it's all these blooper clips. And he has a foundation that helps underprivileged kids go to skateboard parks. So it was a perfect alignment with them. And we went through, do we do cancer or do we do diabetes or things like that? But that didn't align with the brand, because it didn't have anything to do with what they were doing. So that's really important. The other thing that I look for in a client is, you know, what is their attitude, because attitude is really important. And, you know, can you work with them? What is their communication process? I've had some clients where they only want me to go through their assistant and they never want to talk to me, and that doesn't work. I've tried that, and
so that's a big piece right there. Why doesn't that work?
Well, it doesn't work because then I don't understand what's going on deep inside with that person, and it's really hard to promote. And I like to, you know, I have one client who I've had now for 4 years, and it's gone really well. And we just have one monthly meeting for an hour. And that's really the only time I talk to them, unless there's some kind of emergency or last minute interview and I have to contact them. I can work with their assistant for everything else, but that one meeting once a month, I really need to hear what they're thinking and what's going on in their life, so we can strategize. That meeting's really important.
So that's fascinating. I'm sorry to interrupt. No, so what I'm hearing is, and I think as someone in the space on both ends of things, if you're not willing to, there has to be a level of you in your PR. You can't hide behind necessarily a brand. You can't hide behind a position. You can't even hide behind accomplishments or like, yeah, what's up? I grew my company 300% in the last quarter, because ultimately there's not much for you to sell there unless you know like what's actually going on in the mind of the client.
Well, that is a really good point. And I think one of the things that I struggle with my clients, and I talk about this in the book, is that it's not about your cool company or your cool book. It's about the story behind the person that's involved. So what I say is that you need a spokesperson with a powerful story. So I'll give you another example. This was so great. I have a addiction center client that works with veterans and military and first responders. And during treatment, they make these beautiful wooden American flags. And then they sell them, and then they take that money, and it's a pay it forward program so that money helps other veterans come to treatment. It's called Warriors Heart, Warriors with an S.com, if you want to look it up. So this guy was on their board, he came to me. He's a U.S. Air Force retired colonel, Chris Strickland. I got him on TV in 3 out of 4 cities. He was a traveling consultant, and it was just fantastic to work with him, because not only was he promoting these flags and was he a veteran, he also almost died because he ejected out of an F-16 plane. And he was just a great spokesperson. He understood what I talked about with emphasis statements, the power of threes, and he was totally passionate. So it just all came together really well. And I think the reason why the TV stations did it is because of his story, but also the timing. We launched this thing on Flag Day, and then we ended it around July 4th. So San Francisco NBC did a story on Flag Day, and then his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, the CBS station did a story tied to July 4th, and they ran it on July 3rd, and then they ran it again 3 times on July 4th, and that's ideal.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. And so what I'm hearing you say is going back to what you initially said, is it has to stay relevant. I think that was also one of the genius plays in that story, was that, you know, a lot, and I think it provides a level of hopefulness for people out there, that you're never really going to find an accomplishment that's so over the top that any of us have any hope to ever accomplishing. But even the people that have accomplished great things, you're going to say, really what's going to make the interesting story is you, and not the accomplishment. And again, like, you know, you have a great charity, you have the Air Force, you have, you know, someone that's obviously achieved very high level in the military, but it was like that brushed with death and the video footage that stood it out and made it compelling in the mind of the media and in the viewers.
Exactly. And I want to emphasize that in the book, there's all these case study examples. So there's more examples, because the examples, I think, make the book. I mean, you can't just say, you know, do a powerful story. You have to give examples of powerful stories. And I call it the wow story. But yeah, it really is about the spokesperson. And I'm also working on a major morning show, trying to get an interview booked. And, you know, immediately, this is one of the things I talk about, is they want to see those people on camera. They're not just going to promote it because they think this story is cool. They want to see those people on camera, how they sound, are they passionate? So that's another tip I give. You need like a 2-minute video of you talking about whatever it is, so they can see you on camera.
That's fantastic. Okay, I want to be cognizant of your time. I have two more questions. One is a practical one about how people can follow you and find the book. But the final official question, your capacity is, you know, there's a lot of talk right now about you know, the phony PR people, or, you know, people that'll come and help you with your marketing and they don't really know what they're doing. So as a client looking to have someone accelerate their PR, what should the client be asking when they're analyzing, can this person actually help me or not?
Well, that is a great question. I mean, first, we'll say it again, but you can go to 8secondpr.com or follow Liz H. Kelly, Kelly, for more tips. But yeah, so if you're looking for a PR person, I think number one, you know, look at the testimonials. Look for other people vouching for that person. Look at their portfolio. And then ask questions like, how many interviews do you average a month for your client? For example, I say in my contracts, 2 to 3 interviews a month, because I always want to try to exceed that. Now, sometimes I only get 2 to 3, and sometimes I get 10. But the average for these long-term clients is 5, right? And then I've had people come to me and say, potential new clients say, I have a PR person and I've gotten nothing. So that's obviously a red flag. But I would look for the testimonials. I would look at their website. My website, I just relaunched it, and I have a whole section called Portfolio with examples. And, you know, I'm not perfect, and sometimes I really struggle, and I have to pitch, you know, the same media 20 times to try to get the interview. I have clients who are stuck on, I want to get on X show. And I will focus, but, you know, it doesn't always work, because it's got to be luck, it's got to be timing, and it's got to be the story. And by the way, number 8 is the lucky number in numerology. So this book is guaranteed to bring you career success and prosperity.
That's beautiful. Okay, fantastic. Liz, one more time, how do people find your book, and what should we do from here?
Absolutely. Please go to 8secondpr.com. Or go to Amazon. You can get the paperback and the ebook, and follow Liz H. Kelly. And I think the last thing I would say is just, don't give up. Like I said, you might have to pitch 100 times. It will happen. It's a marathon.
Amazing. Liz, thank you so much.
There you have it, folks, another inspiring episode. If you enjoyed this, I ask you to please share this with your friends and to like us over on Rabbi Rupp through Facebook or on YouTube. And the more that we're able to get these important messages out, the more that we can really make an impact in the world. So I encourage you, please, to stay tuned. We have a ton of amazing speakers coming up, and also to tell your friends about it. Thank you very much.